Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where this week I'm reporting live from the Dynatrace Perform event here at the Cosmopolitan Hotel in Las Vegas. And not just reporting from what Dynatrace is doing, but also looking for interesting people on the show floor and somehow tempt them to come on here and share their story with me. And one of the things I love about events like this is that I get to speak to so many interesting people from companies that in many cases I've not heard of before. But I get to hear real life examples of how technology is transforming multiple industries. For example, today I learned that the BARBRI Group has helped more lawyers prepare for the bar than any other company, and is now positioned to meet the legal educational needs of both law students and attorneys throughout their academic and professional careers. BARBRI's leading legal and education experts are actually cultivating better prepared, engaged students who are more likely to succeed, which ultimately translate to lower attrition rates at law schools and higher bar passage and job placement rates, which has got to be a good thing. But it also sounds to me like that there is a big digital transformation story at the heart of everything that they do, and I kind of thought that that needed to be shared. And through the wonders of technology, I want you to be a part of that conversation between myself and Mark Kaplan, Director of IT at BARBRI, but live on the show floor. So wherever it is that you're listening to me today, I cordially invite you to join me here at the Cosmopolitan here in Las Vegas. So wrap up warm, and I'm going to beam your ears all the way here right now.
So BARBRI is an e-learning company. We're a 52-year-old company. And we take law school students and prepare them for the bar exam. So we're the leader in that space, and that's all we do.
So LegalTech has a bit of a stuffy atmosphere for being slow to change, but I have spoke to a few lawyers, including people at Dentons, who tell me that is all changing now. Is that right?
Believe it or not, it's starting to change a little bit. The bar exam is still given on Scantron. They're not very... It takes a while for the legal community to catch up.
Yeah,
I think the same thing went through with the medical community as well. They're on a good path now, and I think legal is also embracing technology much better than it ever did.
So you guys are already online. Where does your digital transformation story start?
Well, we started our online journey about 20 years ago, and we've been refining that ever since. So now that we're all online. Yeah, it's our course.
So where's your journey with Dynatrace? What happened there?
So I was originally a customer of New Relic, and this goes back 3-4 years ago now. And I was having a lot of problems at the time, more in the fact that it didn't have the dashboarding capabilities I was looking for, and the upkeep of the product was fairly high. So I met with Dynatrace, who was developing this SaaS platform, and I started getting involved with the development of it and testing it for them, and I ended up being customer number one, first paying customer of the SaaS product, and have been a happy customer ever since. It helped me in not only in resolving the issues that I had, but in my subsequent journey to the cloud. It helped me form the baselines that I needed to start the journey and run. The way I did a migration to the cloud is I had 2 data centers. I closed one and rebuilt it in the cloud.
Yeah.
So I had one prem, one cloud. And I ran Dynatrace in both and compared the workloads, compared the resource consumption, and allowed me to tweak what I had in the cloud to where it needed to be.
So looking back to your old way of doing things, I think, with Dynatrace, what are the biggest problems that it solved for you?
Dynatrace itself?
Yeah.
The biggest problem it solved was the mystery of what was happening behind alerts. You know, anything can tell you've got a problem. either connectivity is lost or box crashed or whatever it is. Dynatrace, through its use of AI, actually analyzes the problems, the millions of dependencies involved, and gives me its best guess of what it thinks the root cause is. And for the majority of the time, it's right. And it saves us a lot of time troubleshooting issues. The most important single item for me is the ability to take care of problems before my customers know I have a problem. If the customer reports, I failed.
Yeah. So it's a more proactive approach than reactive approach.
Yes.
So that must involve quite a bit of a mindset change throughout the whole organisation as well.
It was, but we've always tried to work towards that goal. And unfortunately, a lot of times you end up putting out fires instead of trying to prevent them.
Yeah.
And now we're able to, through the use of Dynatrace, able to prevent them.
From the cultural mindset side of things, what were your biggest challenges there? Did everyone just get on board straight away, or was it a little...
I didn't really have any cultural issues with it. When we deployed Dynatrace, my team was not a big fan of the products we were using already.
Right.
So they were anxious, and they were always anxious to look at new technology and cutting-edge technology, which we were the first out there to use containers. We tend to jump feet first and try new things when they become available. And if I find that they benefit the environment and the students, then it's something we move forward with. If it doesn't, then it doesn't.
And what were your biggest challenges in embarking on this journey?
I'm struggling with a challenge.
That's a good thing, though, right?
I'm the final say when it comes to so procuring the product was not a problem, and my people were very enthusiastic about using it. I would say the only thing that required a little bit more finesse on my side was getting it into other groups. Because I wanted to expand the utilization of Dynatrace. And today it's used by 4 different groups within our organization. But in the beginning, they were very reluctant to look at tools like that. It's an infrastructure tool. We don't need that. You guys monitor that. But once they saw, like development, for example, once they saw that they could pin down to a line of code where a bottleneck was, or where a SQL statement might be wrong and needs to be refined, Dynatrace points that out without them having to comb through millions of lines of code.
Yeah. And here at Perform, I think, any event like this really, one of the big things is hearing from other people's challenges and sharing conversations. Mm-hmm. Is there any particular conversations you've had or that you've been able to relate or resonate with you?
I have naturally a lot of... I'm a social person, so I tend to talk to a lot of people, and they talk to me. What I found is that for whatever reason, well, I know the reasons because it's that good, but customers that come to Dynatrace very rarely leave. And when I come to an event like Perform, I don't know of other companies that have this type of a camaraderie feel. I mean, we're all, and maybe it's true, like when I go to Ignite, Microsoft Ignite, it's much bigger, and everybody is, it's the word I'm looking for, everybody is interested in each other, but they don't have the same dedication to the product that I find here.
Wow, that's cool.
These people, you ask anybody in here, whether prospective or not, I don't get any negative feedback on Dynatrace.
When you get the plane home, I know it's only day one and we've had a great keynote already, but when you're on that plane home, is there anything that you're going to be taking or going to be thinking about on that ride home?
Well, during the session, I used the Perform app to take individual notes and pictures and so forth. And then what I formulate on the plane back is what I'm going to pitch to my guys. Because they know I'm coming back with a whole mess of stuff that I'm going to want them to do. And I actually brought one of my team with me this year, so I have backup when I talk. But I will lay out a plan of, okay, these are the things that Dynatrace is launching. These are the things I want us to get involved in. And one of them is the new Kubernetes monitoring that they've just launched. It's huge for us because we're now moving from Swarm to Kubernetes.
And what is it that excites you about that Kubernetes announcement today?
The deep full stack monitoring. I mean, I never thought I'd see anything go that intense inside a Kubernetes stack. I mean, when they say full stack, it's full stack. It's everything. I'm not going to claim I know all and do all, but from what I'm aware, nothing comes close to Dynatrace.
So for people listening at various stages of their journey, and obviously they're looking and listening to what you're saying here, is there anything that you would pass down to them? Any advice?
Yes, there is. Do your diligence.
Yeah.
Do your planning. The worst thing to deal with in going to the cloud when you're trying to show your executives and so forth that it's the right thing to do is to have cost overruns. And it is so easy to do in the cloud. You spin things up, forget about it. You make things size them too high. You're paying too much. I relate your first cloud bill to, in the old days, your first cell phone bill.
Yeah.
When you didn't know you had to pay for all these things. Same thing here. You have to do the diligence to, one, make sure you're sized appropriately, and two, to make sure you're looking at the economics. You want it to be cheaper, not more expensive.
Another big theme from the keynotes was it's all about business outcomes. So for the numbers guy that's listening to this conversation, all he cares about is, this is all great, but what about the ROI? What would you say to those people?
That goes back to the management.
Yeah.
Depending on the type of business, we're a seasonal business, so we realized a lot of savings out of just by going to the cloud. Because when you're building a prem infrastructure, you have to build it for your top capacity, which for me is only 3 months out of the year.
Yeah.
So my ability to scale that way down after I don't need it and then scale it back up later saves me a lot of money. Where I tell people to make sure that they do the diligence is in what it will cost. Use the calculators that the providers do. AWS has them, Microsoft has them. They're real-time calculators. Put in what your infrastructure is going to look like so you know an estimated cost. And that's just a start, and then you can tweak from there. There's also other tools on the market that help you, from a cost management perspective, make sure you're running optimal sizes. What we found is we're using a tool that helps us in that it'll tell us, hey, the workloads just don't warrant this size of a machine. Bring it down and you'll save this much.
So when you put it all together, everything you've seen here, the exciting ideas that you're taking back, what does the future vision look like for you? What would be your ideal scenario in, let's say, 2 years from now?
More automation.
Yeah.
And auto remediation. Trusting the system enough to let it fix problems on its own. The technology's there. The comfort level has to be built to trust it.
And obviously there'll be a few nervous IT workers there when they hear the big A word. But,
but I will tell you this, what people are most concerned about with job security and loss, when we go automated, I'm already a lean team. I can't lose anybody else. All my automation is doing is allowing my team to go back to what they really like to do, and that's develop new stuff, look at new technology, make our platform better. Today, without that, they have a lot of work with a few people. And without the automation, they have to do it all themselves. So while they may be an initial, hey, this robot's going to take my job, what they end up seeing is the robot takes off the mundane tasks and opens their time up for what they really like to do.
I've been saying for some time that actually technology is actually setting us free from those repetitive and mundane tasks. It's not replacing you. It actually allows you to create value in other areas. But I suppose there will be some businesses that will look at it as an opportunity to do something like that. But they're the ones that will fall behind, aren't they?
And those are the ones that are probably bloated.
Yeah.
And they have fat to cut anyway. Most IT organizations that I know today have already gone through that. And they're struggling to do the work they have to do with the resources they have. By using automation to augment that, frees up the people.
And do you find that boardrooms get it now as well, that how important this stuff is?
They still don't realize the importance of IT.
And
I don't know that they ever will, but they are more cognizant about what it provides. And they realize that even though they're not a technology company, they're reliant on technology. Business doesn't work How does a supermarket operate without a cash system, a point of sale system? In the old days, you had a cash register, but that's not the way anymore. Yeah. People rarely use cash.
And there's a lot of thing about the digital experience as well, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And that comes into Dynatrace as well.
Well, Dynatrace, the whole digital migration experience, to me, it can mean so many different things to so many different people. For us, digital transformation was moving from prem to cloud and refining our processes and using more automation. For other companies, digital transformation is more moving from paper to digital.
Yeah.
It can mean a lot to different people, but it all has the same result: efficiency.
Excellent. Well, a huge thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
On paper, Mark Kaplan is the Director of IT at BARBRI. In reality, I met a super cool and interesting guy who was not only a sociable guy, but all-round good guy, who was happy to share a moment with me and record his digital transformation story with everyone listening to this podcast all over the world. And for me, that's why I take this podcast on the road, meeting and talking to real people about the impacts that technology is having on their business, and also taking the time to speak with others and share how it could help theirs too. But as always, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, get me on my social channels at Neil C. Hughes, or pop by my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. But as you can imagine, it's a pretty hectic week this week, so I'm going to go straight back onto the show floor now and just say a big thank you for listening to this podcast. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.